Hello, everybody. I hope you're staying dry out there. Oh, I'm right at the crack. Sorry.
Oh my God.
No, I'm good.
Sure?
Yeah. Okay. So we've all been introduced. I don't think we have to go through that. So let's just jump right in. So today we're going to be discussing how today's top brands and agencies are harnessing the power of compound creativity with more fluidity. That's a mouthful.
It's a lot of itties.
Itties.
Is this on? Did I fit?
There you go. We're good. So,
Testing.
So to kick things off, first of all, I hear you two have met before just now.
Yeah, we are partners. We are the media agency for OpenDoor.
Yeah, interesting story actually, because when I joined OpenDoor, I invited DeutschLA and a series of other creative agencies to pitch the creative business. And the plan was I had no plans to bring on a new media agency, at least for the first year. I was trying to be organized, get my purpose down, creative down, and move things through. And as part of the pitch process, the DeutschLA team did such an incredible job, especially in media. We ended up actually going with a different agency for creative, and I awkwardly texted Kim a few days later and said, would you be interested in being our media agency? And was very fortunate that she agreed, because we've done some incredible things since.
Sometimes losing is winning.
There you go. There you go. I'm going to try that strategy, actually. That sounds good. So tell me a little bit more, since you guys work so closely together, tell me about your brand/agency process and how you intertwine media plus creative. What do you consider like the beginning part of your campaign development?
Yeah, I think we actually don't even call it brand/agency. Brand X, because it's about that collaboration and the multiplier effect that comes from really approaching creative and media with a lot of fluidity. And everyone showing up with their OpenDoor jersey as opposed to a creative jersey or a media jersey. So if I look out in this crowd, I would also want to recognize two really important Laurens. Lauren West, who wears technically a creative hat, Lauren Tetuan, who technically wears a media hat, who really work across both functions so effectively in a really intentional way to always be bringing a media perspective to creative and a creative perspective to our media practice, so we get that compound effect of collaborating and solving together.
I always say it's like we should be operating as an organism, not a mechanism. So it's not about, the question was about process, but it isn't really about following the steps. It's about being able to integrate with each other and shapeshift as needed. I mean, if you look at the real estate category, say 2022, the first 6 months of the year was the hottest real estate in history. The second 6 months of the year was the worst real estate market in 40 years. So as a collective team, we needed to be organic in how we shifted and moved dollars and how our messaging and our media opportunities in order to respond to the changing landscape, which we've been really successful at doing. And even on the brand, quote unquote brand side of things, upper funnel, we've got about 70% flexibility built into our plan. So we are able to literally, days and weeks out, change our plans according to what's happening in the market. And we've been, again, like awareness is at an all-time high, consideration is at an all-time high, and our budgets, given the mortgage rates right now, are pretty significantly less this year versus last year versus the year before. Yet the strategy, which has been about having the teams fully integrated and building on one another, has led to this success.
I think, and just to build on that, if I may, I think part of maybe what has enabled that to happen so effectively is the DNA that exists within OpenDoor as well as within Deutsch. I mean, David worked as an agency leader before he went over to the brand side, super conversant on how agencies operate when they're at their best, because he led an agency that operated at its best. Deutsch is also a creative and a media agency, which is sort of atypical. And so I think that we probably just boot up a little bit differently and have been able to, with a lot of intention then, sort of bring a real culture to the team that's informed by our own shared experiences, just sort of growing up in the industry.
That's fantastic. It sounds like a recipe for success, obviously. So what are you focused on today? Like, what challenges or breakthroughs have you had recently?
last year there was a moment where, again, interest rates so high in real estate. You know, if people were looking at a house the following year, interest rates were around, mortgage rates were around 2.5%, okay? Back half of the year, they were around 7 or 8%. So there was a whole group of the market that basically just slowed down to say, I'm going to wait. So, you know, part of our belief of how we work together is being contextual. So we have, you know, we thought of the context of the reasons people move, which is usually about a life transition, not about keeping up with the Joneses and getting a bigger house. We thought about, like, how can we meet our audience in the most contextual manner, and then how do we bring creative to that media in the most contextual manner. So an example last year was, with mortgage rates so high, there's a group of sellers that don't need a mortgage, and that's the 55 plus. That's people whose kids have just moved to college, or they went to college, you know, a few years ago and they've been wanting to downsize. And so we very quickly kind of shifted to talk to that audience during a period where life was still happening, they still needed to move, and we could be the answer to that. And with collaboration with the team, we did some amazing things. One was we built a massive bird's nest at UCLA, encouraging parents to leave the nest too. And that was a great event, and then was filmed and became content and aired. And we also did some spots encouraging downsizing. And the DeutschLA media team came to us with The Golden Bachelor, you know, as an opportunity to bring this to life, which again was incredible. It performed incredibly well and actually brought life back into that franchise, and we were able to be there at the very beginning.
Unfortunately, that sort of fizzled when The Golden Bachelor got divorced.
We don't talk about it, but we may have had something to do with it. We were about to work with The Bachelor again, The Golden Bachelor again, and the couple hadn't figured out where they were going to live, and the idea was to them to sell to OpenDoor and move with us. And that conversation started between the couple, and then things went quiet, and we heard that they were getting divorced. So we keep it between this quiet crew. But yeah. It's didn't turn out how we wanted. Yeah. Legally, there's nothing.
Yeah, nice. Well, spoiler alert, I had that on my DVR, so I guess I don't have to watch it now. Okay. Nice. That's fantastic. So there are a lot of factors that are changing in advertising today and in real estate plus tech, some of which are like changing economics, like budgets are just being squeezed. You mentioned some of your with the mortgage rate market, social media, influencers, AI, new media. Can you just give me some of your thoughts on how you approach these or how you think about them?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say first, one of our core philosophies at Deutsch, when we approach any project, is to make the box smaller. Like, we believe there's a lot of value in having a tighter brief, whether you're solving a creative problem, a media problem. There's value in constraint. And one of the things that I really appreciate and admire about the way OpenDoor goes to market is to say, hey, we're a challenger brand. We want to demonstrate sort of more impact from every dollar we spend and every choice and decision we make. And I think it makes us better, frankly. And it's funny, I was sort of thinking about this conversation we were going to be having last week. I was taking a look at another brand that's in the market right now, sort of whale of a spender. Like they have tremendous luxury, right? Which is fantastic. They've got sponsorships across every major sport. But if you sort of look at it, it can sometimes feel a bit lazy, perhaps, almost like a spoiled rich kid. You want to say, get out and hustle. Yeah. And so I think that, sort of using real intention with the dollars that we invest has enabled us to make more. And one of the things that I have a ton of pride in is when we show up in places like the NFL draft or under these unexpected places, sometimes because our creative is so closely connected to the media environment, we are considered a sponsor, even though we're not. And I think that speaks to that decision to hustle and to really make the most of everything that we do.
Yeah, it's the hustle and going back to we are working as an organic team that it takes highly contextual marketing seriously. So the NBA, we bought media in for March Madness, and we made a spot about a player who's being traded and is focused on the fact he has to move and the pain points of that, which of course ties to our product, ties to our brand purpose of powering progress, but connects to the media. So the audience you want to reach is watching a sport they want to watch, and you're kind of being respectful of the fact that you're meeting them contextually there. And we find that it just outperforms. It just outperforms. You can have great creative and a great media plan, but as soon as you connect creatively to the media, it just, your response is phenomenal. We actually found with that, it was a quote-unquote brand spot. It's actually our best performing performance creative. We see the spot go on air and site traffic go up. It's literally seconds afterwards, which, is rare to get with TV alone. So we're able to kind of build a case for why we need to do more of this, which is why we were in the Super Bowl in Atlanta this year, where the team bought media only in Atlanta, where we cut live to a consumer's phone, and they sold their house to OpenDoor live during the Super Bowl in Atlanta. Because it was so audacious, because it was so contextual, we got national coverage of PR and media coverage that we didn't pay for, and it came purely because we're being ambitious, audacious, organic, and highly contextual.
It's amazing. So earned, obviously. That's amazing. So this is a fun one. Let's put our creative hats on for a second. So if you had unlimited budget, as you mentioned, others seem to have large budgets, but if it was unlimited, what would you do differently?
This was like a tough one for me to answer, but I took unlimited really seriously.
Unlimited,
and I said, let's subsidize the housing market and bring mortgage rates down.
Nice.
And just loosen things up and sort of help people move. So that was sort of like I don't know if your board would approve that.
They would. We actually have this conversation a lot where we're very accountable as a marketing department to delivering for the business. We take it very seriously. And there are times where we go, is this money best spent on marketing to attract new customers in? Or could this money be better spent to ensure that some of our customers are getting better offers on their home? And we've made those decisions. So, but if it was an unlimited budget, I'd probably call Kim first and say, and Lauren, and say, what do we do with the budget? But I actually think we are not, we're a brand ascending. And there is a lot of opportunity to continue to build awareness, and the playbook we're using or have written together is working. And so I think it would be more of that, but also just more and more experiments. We've had a lot of success with where we kind of deliberately go in and try and cause some trouble, or take sacred cows and knock them over. We did the world's largest yard sign in Phoenix when the Super Bowl was happening in Phoenix. We turned a yard sign to pour Guinness for St. Patrick's Day. We've done a lot of these things, and a basketball hoop up high. I think it would be more and more of that, and more experimentation. And that, again, it's things you can do when you're working organically and contextually.
Yeah, and I'd say if I was to give a more practical answer, I would say let's keep doing the exact same strategies that we've been doing, like you said, and just invest more deeply in them. And I don't think we should change our playbook. Like you said, we should not change the playbook. The playbook's working.
Yeah, it's like this great, when you've got a team that's smart, talented, and nice, and you're all working well together, you kind of keep rolling. Yeah. We have, DeutschLA have a phenomenal business intelligence team, and at OpenDoor, we've built a marketing science team, a Marside team, that is basically mining data, analytics, and how do I put it? Like putting it visually so I can understand it, or we can understand it. But what is great about it is we now have scientists studying what we're doing and plotting you could spend a lot more in this channel, this channel, this channel, and here's what we think we would get as a result, both from awareness and from offers and contracts, which allows us to make braver calls because we're doing. It's literally the combination of science and art, where we've got this great business intelligence team, this marketing sciences team, and creative minded marketers that we're all coming together and all sharing opinions and making decisions and holding each other accountable. And so I think if it was unlimited budget, we would, there would be a lot of science behind how far we can push certain channels when we move on to the next. And that's, again, that was built. It didn't exist. And it wasn't easy to build, but it's great. It's like the data people are more into marketing now than some of the marketing team. It turned out well.
Excellent. Wow. There's no surprise why you're having success right now. That sounds amazing. So just shifting back, you talked about some great activations, some clever, creative executions. So how are you looking at each channel today? And what are you leaning into? For example, interactivity on social, high impact display, digital out of home, et cetera. Any thoughts?
I'd say marketing's a team sport, and media, the channels are a team. So it's not like you can pick one. We're having a lot of success in some traditional channels, brand building channels like TV. We could spend a lot more into TV, and we see both the awareness lift, but we also see how it drives business. We're experimenting more in organic social. We make about 100 pieces of content a month, and we're using that both getting out, but also using it as an insights machine, because you can test messaging very quickly and see with engagement what are people responding to, which then can lead to a bigger brief that you roll out nationally. I never thought I would be someone to say it, but I sleep well at night when I direct mail ships, because again, it's a media channel that I never loved, and now I'm like, this works great. So there's so many options. I think we're kind of using all the channels really strategically, and we've, again, with a Marseille model, are able to prioritize the right channels at the right time during the season.
I'll just build on that. I mean, first, I appreciate so much the investment in social as a way to not just communicate with the audience, but to understand the audience, which is sort of one of the most valuable ways to use it. I would say, more broadly at Deutsch, we're really looking at social as, so long as the second screen. No, that's the first screen.
100%.
That is 100% where brands are having their most intimate relationship with their audience, and that's where they need to show up as their truest self, as their most helpful self, as their most vulnerable self, and really investing into those spaces, particularly with organic. So even when we may be spending in other channels, we may be spending in television, linear television, we're thinking about designing communications that will then be shared and relayed and participated in social, where there's going to be more intimacy. And so that's a huge priority for how our thinking is working.
Yeah, and I think, Ben, it goes back to that audience and context, because you start with who are the audience I'm trying to reach and where are they, and there versus picking a favorite channel. But with taking that, you have opportunity, they're really into this particular sport. We're not there right now. What is the right media strategy to get there? And when we're there, what is the right creative messaging strategy?
We're truly in a new era when you're buying linear to learn and how to execute on social. That's fascinating. So yeah, I guess we have a few minutes. I want to turn it over to the audience for some questions, if anybody has any.
So questions for David, but probably for all y'all. There's a number of external factors impacting your business, right? Like FHFA is dropping the requirement for title insurance, the lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors is hitting brokerage. How are you monitoring consumer attitudes on that and deciding if you still want to charge your 5% fee, or if everybody's going to go back to, hey, I don't have to pay a buyer's agent anymore, and I'm going to go back to a traditional listing?
Great question. I would say OpenDoor was built on the premise of what's right for the consumer is right for OpenDoor. The real estate model is broken. It hasn't changed in 100 years, okay? We pay agents commission to do that work. And with OpenDoor, there is no commission. So the NAR lawsuit is against how much commission, essentially how much commission agents can make through when you're buying a home. And with OpenDoor, there simply isn't the commission. There's a very clear fee that we charge for the simplicity and certainty. And so with moments like that, we actually just see it as proof that our model is right, because the consumer is demanding change, and we're ready and able to provide it. So it's what's right for the consumer is right for us.
Great. Anybody else? No? Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. This is super insightful. I hope everybody got something out of this, and have a great day.
Thank you.